Well, greetings and welcome. Let me just turn it around. What time is it? I think it's about 10 o'clock, coming up for. I'll just show you what I've been working on, or rather what we've been working on. I thought you might like it. I needed to get cracking on building up the dead hedges, so I thought you might appreciate the dead hedge action shot. We had a tree fall down by the front of the house a couple of years ago, and it's a bit of a set. There's a steep bank, so we need to build the bank up and there's a whole load of blackthorn, and I'm going to plant a proper Oleagnus abingii hedge, extend that hedge, evergreen hedge to about 5 metres, because it's underneath some power lines, so it can't go any higher than 5 metres. And there's a lot of material left over, so there's honeysuckle, blackthorn and bramble, and we're using this is like a load of honeysuckle, and there's a bit of blackthorn, and we're using that in the dead hedges. Now, dead hedges, this is the coppice. This is about 2 acres, or acre and a half, and we had some nut trees planted here, and Italian alder, some hazel, there's an alder there, a couple of apples at the top, and been topping up the dead hedges. And dead hedges are brilliant. I just think they're fantastic. You can see here, this is that one there has just been rotting down, and you top it up. Just all the cuttings and branches and things, you top up the dead hedges, and they provide protection, and it's somewhere to put all your cuttings, so you don't have to have any more bonfires, which is fantastic. This is a mini dead hedge. I have a collection of dead hedges. This is a mini dead hedge. These are made with spacers, which you can get for they cost like 5p from the local timber yard. They use the spacers for planks of wood, and they basically give them away. But they're very, very handy around the garden. I always grab a few when I go down to the timber yard. And that's just a little mini dead hedge, and the mini dead hedge provides protection for the Italian alder, which is, I love Italian alders. And you just see they've got such beautiful bark, they really have, and they're really fast growing trees as well. So yeah, so that provides a little bit of protection from the prevailing southwesterly winds. So that's what I've been doing. Greetings and welcome. My name is Jake Rayson. I am a forest gardener and a forest garden designer, and today I'm talking about my great forest garden mistakes, of which I've made quite a few, I can tell you. But hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. I'm always learning, and I think it's always good. It's the freedom to make mistakes is essential. You need to be in a place where you can experiment and try things out and make progress, because you can't make progress without making mistakes. So mistakes are not to be avoided, they are to be encouraged and learn from them. You know, the same crap's happening over again. Try and figure out what's going on and try and fix it. So I've actually got quite a lot of things I'd like to say. There's a Zoom meeting after this at 10:30 British summertime, and they'll be in the chat. I haven't put them in the chat, so if anyone's on the chat at the moment, that'd be fantastic if you could put the Zoom meeting details in there. This is just it's a half an hour meeting, and we meet up after every live stream on Wednesday, and it's a kind of, everyone's welcome, and we kind of talk about the issues raised in the live stream, or any kind of forest gardening questions that you have, or any kind of topics that you want to discuss. So there's a few things I want to get going now. First of all, I want to really start acknowledging the people who support the live stream and support the work that I do, and support forest gardening. So there's the Backyard Forest Telegram group, which is you can join if you buy the online course on udemy.com, and it's also by invite as well. So if you're really, really keen to join the Backyard Forest Telegram group, please do get in touch, and we can see what we can do. And so everyone on that, they're fantastic, really, really helpful, really really nice group of people, and always kind of lots of interesting stuff being discussed and talked about on there. And a big thank you to Mary, who is the a new Patreon. So to support the live stream, I have a Patreon, which, if you don't know, is where you can donate regular amounts of, like a small amount of money, and it just helps pay for the pay for my time to do the live stream, and to do things like there's a forest garden gallery, and there's like a free courses and kind of other resources, forest garden spreadsheet that I do. So yeah, so if you like the stuff that we're doing, then please do go along to patreon.com/backyardforest. And a big thank you to Mary, who is the latest Patreon. And also want to say thank you to the other Patrons as well, to Julie, Abby Sue, Chris and Lynn. So all, I must say, I've got to say it more often, but really, really appreciated. And then the other thing I wanted to say was climate emergency. This really is kind of driver for why I do forest gardening. Apart from it's nice to be outside, and it's nice to I like plants, and it's great to see things grow, and it's good to do something for more than yourself. So you're doing something for the environment, for the birds, for insects, for wildlife. You're doing something more than yourself, and it takes you out of yourself and connects you with the rest of life, of which there's an awful lot still, just about. And so there's an ecological and climate emergency. You would not believe it if you looked at any of the media. Had a very interesting conversation with an environment journalist called Cyril Griffiths, who works on the national newspaper, which is a new Welsh new national newspaper for Wales, created by the News Quest group. And it was really refreshing to talk to somebody who actually acknowledged the climate and ecological emergency, and it wants to do something about it. I mean, and there's far too many people in the world of mainstream media, whatever you want to call it, who act as if it doesn't exist, act as if we don't have a looming, an ongoing climate emergency. And just to give you an example of this, it's not something that is, it's going to happen in the future, it'll happen when in another 50 years' time. It is happening now. In Beauvais, I'm not too sure how the pronunciation, in France, on the 31st of March, I've got it written down here, 31st of March, it had the highest March temperature ever of 24.8 degrees Celsius, and that was a record. And then a week later, 6th of April, it has the coldest April day ever, and that's minus 6.9. And that's happening. That's like two records in a week, like the hottest and the coldest, and that has a direct effect on the wildlife. It has a direct effect on our on agriculture, on people, and it will come back to humans. So we do need to do something about it, and it's something that everybody needs to do something about. It's not just me standing in a Welsh field blithering on about climate emergency. This is kind of political action, this is activism, this is getting involved, this is doing something for the climate emergency and doing something for the ecological emergency, doing something for wildlife and for the environment. And the two main things that you can do is a plant-based diet. You call it vegan, call it what you like, but stop eating animal products because they generate more carbon dioxide and methane, greenhouse gases. People will argue about that, but pretty much the evidence is pretty conclusive. That is the case. And the second thing you do is stop flying. Do not fly in aeroplanes. Stop flying. Those are the two biggest things you can do as an individual. The third thing you can do is to engage in the political, socio-political, economic systems, whatever shape or form that takes, whether that's a local community garden group, whether that's the wildlife group, local wildlife group, whether that's getting elected as a councillor or getting elected as an MEP, or not an MEP, sorry, a assembly member, or getting elected as an MP, or getting engaged in the political process. But there's a variety of different ways in, and that is activism. That is actually, growing a forest garden is activism. Growing a forest garden is making a difference, because you're doing stuff which is going to affect. This isn't this nuttery here, okay? This is you know, it's not gonna. I'm not gonna reap the rewards of the harvest. There's walnut, Italian alder, stone pine, pecan, a couple of more stone pines, Eleagris subulata, autumn olive, stone pine, sweet chestnut, Italian alder, golden delicious, Braeburn. Okay, all this fruit and nuts, all this produce, and this is gradually going to be turned into a forest garden. This will benefit future generations, and this is the whole point. It's not just about you. It's about other people. I gave a talk at a gardening club a few years ago before the pandemic, and someone said, "Oh, can you recommend a sweet chestnut, small sweet chestnut?" And I said, "Oh yeah, there's a what's it called? It's Castanea. I can't remember either name of it. It's a small sweet chestnut, and there's not really any cultivars because it's not really grown for nut production, but it kind of go into a small garden." And I said, "Oh yeah, but it'll take you 10 years before you get harvest from it." "Oh, that's no good. I want something now. It's for me." This is kind of the opposite. There we go. So I do think with growing a forest garden as well, what you've got to look at is it's an equilibrium. And what we're trying to do with a forest garden, this is a case in point, this particular bit here, is to shift the equilibrium. So this will be a forest garden area. And I'll just show you the area that I'm talking about. What we're trying to do is when creating a forest garden, is shift the equilibrium so that there's no energy inputs into maintaining that equilibrium. So this area, so the house is up there, and then this area here, this is, we're very lucky. We've got a lot of land to play with, to experiment with, and yeah. So this part here is going to be a forest garden up to around that hawthorn and holly up there, and this will be kind of cultivated insofar as there will be like perennial ground cover. And I want to put in wildflowers visible from the house, so kind of experimenting with different mixes, getting real diversity of UK native flowers here. So this is lovely for me. This will be for in a year or so's time, and then it will be like one single grass path going up. And the idea is that you're changing the equilibrium. At the moment, previously it was grass, and then it's the bramble has taken over. So all these brown patches is where I've been brush cutting, and the bramble has taken over. So this leads me to my first major mistakes. Keep the bramble and the docks and the blackthorn, but mostly the bramble. Keep it under control. Keep it in balance, rather. Keep it in check, in balance. Don't let it run rampant. It's not about destroying, eradicating bramble. All bramble must die, because it's a really good food source for a variety of different butterflies, and nectar for the flowers, and the fruit for birds, and its habitat. And it's a really good UK native plant. It supports a lot of wildlife. But you don't want to, if you want to use the land for something else and for other types of habitat and for growing food, then you can't have bramble. This was, I just brought a brush cutter because we let it slip. If we had just kind of kept it mown around the edges, the brambles crept down here, and now this is a load of work to get rid of the bramble. Yeah, it's an absolute ton of work. Whereas if we'd just kept it in the hedge, that's fine. Just cut it back each year. That would have been fine. And you can see it's kind of spread everywhere, and it's spread down here, all the way down there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get rid of the patches here, and then there's leaving a huge swathe of it all the way down the front, all the way down by the road down there, and there'll be some of it over all that way. And there's like half an acre of it over there, and even more bramble over there. So it's not like there isn't any bramble, but it's just kind of keeping it under control. So keep it under control. So there's a real temptation when you move to a new place, particularly if you've got a lot of land. There's a real temptation to just let it go, which is fine. There is nothing wrong with letting it go, because that's a really good it's the natural process, and and that's one way of doing it, is to let the land go. But if you want to grow something there, if you want to grow a crop, then don't let it go, because it's a lot of work to get it back. Yeah. And also another way of looking at it is you can encourage a diversity of different habitats and a diversity of different species, more than just bramble. By intervening, you can create an equilibrium far quicker, which will benefit potentially benefit a large range of different species, whilst having some other benefits as well. So this is a kind of human intervention, not to squeeze out, not just to put one crop down, but to actually increase diversity of habitats and increase the diversity of species, and you can do it a lot quicker as well. This isn't to say that humans know best in a situation, it's just to say that if you are intervening, then do be aware of that, that it is a possibility. The other things that I've got to really want to keep hold of is dock. Bramble's number one pain, because it spreads so quickly, and that's just like 4 years of it not being managed properly. But blackthorn as well, it suckers readily, so you've got to keep the suckers. There's a blackthorn up there, and it's suckering down here, so just keep on top of it. And then the other one, if you have got any kind of grassland, we haven't got so much actually. Oh, there's a bit there. There's a bit of dock, so just keeping the dock under control as well. So you can see the dock there, and then the docks. It's a good pioneer species, but it does kind of get out of hand. So if you want to plant anything else, it will kind of dominate an area. But there we go. Okay, so that's the first mistake. We didn't keep the bramble in check. And a second mistake, again, because we're very lucky. There's about there's 1 acre forest garden at the top there, which we'll go to. Ornamental forest garden here, that's 2 acres. 1 acre of coppice here, 3 acres, couple of acres here, 5 acres, and then there's some woodland down there, 6-7 acres, and then there's 1 acre of garden or something around the house as well. So it's like 8 acres in total, and that's a lot of land to keep on top of. What I would say is to anyone who is starting out, it actually doesn't matter about the size of the garden, but is to do it in manageable chunks. I try to do absolutely everything all at the same time, which is actually impossible. You've got to remember that it's a process to shift to a different equilibrium, and you're much better off concentrating on one section at a time. So my advice is to work from the centre, which means work from the house, from the dwelling, from where you spend your time. So whether that is the house or a workshop or what have you, work from the centre and then work outwards, and do it in sections. And when you've completed one section, move on to the next section. So if I was to do this again, I'll just show you. I would have started with the original forest garden and then done that before starting on the other stuff. But what I would say, what you can do, and what this next bit is actually a bit of a success, although it doesn't look it, is to put the canopy layer in and the windbreaks first of all. So here the windbreaks haven't really done very well. There's this cornice. It's too dry for it, and it has been too dry the past few years as well. So this is supposed to be a cornice hedge down here. But the canopy layer, so windbreaks in along the top, again, need to keep hold of the bramble. But the windbreak layer, you can see, I don't know if you can see that up there. There's autumn olive, which is about 2 meters tall now, and there's Juneberry and Guelder rose and sea buckthorn and Darwin's barberry, and that's starting to get established. So windbreaks, first of all, I should have put in dead hedges. So this is what these are. These posts are for. I was supposed to be doing felling some ash and the hedge there, and that was supposed to be material for these dead hedges, so there isn't anything in here at the moment. But I am getting there's some ash dieback in this row of trees here, so the neighbour farmer next door is going to donate his brash to me so we can weave dead hedges here. So canopy, windbreaks in terms of living windbreaks, and dead hedges, canopy plants. So I've got plums and apples, and there's a sweet chestnut, autumn olive, kind of name variety there. And then get so canopy and windbreaks, and then you can leave it. So that's what we've done here, is just leave it. It's just leave the grass and then mow the paths. So you can then just keep it in the balance and check there until you're ready, until you've got the ground cover plants ready and propagated. And then what we're going to do is to clear the grass out the way, and then scrape it and form mounds with it, and then plant the ground cover in and do it in one fell swoop, rather than using plastic sheet mulch. So that's the third thing, is windbreaks, dead hedges and living hedges, and canopy. And then I would have done it section by section when you're ready. So that's the third thing. And the fourth thing is, I was going to go over to the other forest garden, which I can do. I can show you the other forest garden as well. So yeah, windbreaks, just windbreaks. This is my first ever dead hedge, which is it's starting to collapse, which is good, which is what you want them to do, and that needs topping up. And you can see there's a pit. It's a bamboo, which is pit white. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it's a bamboo, and it's an edible one, and the name will come to me afterwards, obviously. And then there's an apple tree, and there's a hazel up there somewhere, and a crab apple, and then we've got the sweet chestnut. And you see, and so long as you keep them mulched, they're absolutely fine. So canopy layer in, windbreak hedge, canopy, keep it mulched, top it up, keep the grass down. And then this is the sweet chestnut. Can't remember which one this is actually. It might be Numbo. Can't remember. But this is doing really well. This is kind of coming on nicely. It's only a couple of years old. The hawthorn. And which one's which? Oh, let's have a quick look. So exciting. This is bladdernut. It's a lovely yellow flowers, I think so. Oh no, maybe not. No, that's the other one. So this is Staphylia. Oh, I can't remember the bloody name of it. And then we've got the cornus mass over here, which should be. Yay! It's gone over. I missed the flowers. It had the yellow flowers on it. Cornus. Cornelian cherry. I've forgotten what all the bloody plants are in here, and it's had yellow flowers on, which I missed foolishly. And then a hazel down here. So yeah, so this is like all the kind of canopy layer. Wow, it's amazing. I need to get out more. So this is a hazel. There's another one at the top as well. So that's doing that. Keep a mulch. I've got a ground cover going on down there. Cut the grass back. When we're ready, we'll do it section by section. So this is kind of like what I would suggest doing. And then there are no more pre-vegan chickens. One got eaten by a fox, and the other one was donated. Found a home for it, given to a neighbour. And then Rosa rugosa, northern boundary, doesn't do very well, by the way. It's in an exposed position, much happier, a bit lower down, but even then not much of protection. New dead hedge. Okay, why am I here? Water reservoir, that's the why I'm here. So the thing I would say is, big old polytunnel, bit behind on the old composting it. I want to turn it into a perennial vegetable polytunnel, to be honest, and just kind of reduce the number of annuals that I'm growing, because it's so much bloody work, but everyone knows that. So And then I've got this will be a forest garden, a woodlandy kind of forest garden with hostas and the climby ones, there's Caucasian spinach and Solomon seal, that kind of stuff. I'm really looking forward to kind of creating this bit here, because this gets a bit of shade. It gets sun, but it gets a fair bit of shade, and it's quite moist as well. But then there's obviously I've got a lot of stuff in pots for various jobs and for the ground cover area, but this all needs water. So at the moment the water's just down there by the gate at the bottom, but it dries. It's a deep well, but it dries out in the summer. Not normally, but the past few years it has been drying out. So what I would say is I wish I'd put in a reservoir around about here actually, and then or possibly up there away from the trees, but gravity fed watering for the polytunnel and the propagation area. So if you've got the land, if you've got the space and you've got the height, then seriously consider using a reservoir for propagation. Yeah, for your propagation needs, for your polytunnel and for your propagation area. Really would do that. And then, so that's, mistake, I didn't do that. That's mistake number 4, I think. And then I'm actually going to sneak another one in. Mistake number 5, great mistake, is look how much grass I've left. This is a 2-width path. Make your grass paths, because if you've got a large area, you've got to have grass paths, because otherwise it's way more maintenance if you're using wood chip. So down by the raised beds, I've got wood chip paths, which is absolutely fine. Because it's not that much to top up each year, whereas with grass paths, it covers a big area, but there's quite a lot of maintenance. And so what I need to do here is just to reduce the width, make the grass paths as small as you can to reduce the amount of mowing, because it all does add up. So all around here, you can see where the grass is longer. I'm going to deturf all around here. I'm going to deturf all that. That's going to be ground cover down that side, a grass path down there. Reduce the width of it here. So there's loads. I've got lots of work to do. This is kind of ongoing process. My absolutely shabby annual veg patch, which I'm going to ignore. Yes. So. Grass paths, make them as narrow as you can get away with, depending upon what you're using the path for. If you've got you need to get 2 people in, then have a double width grass path. And also windbreaks. Yeah, this is a belated. This is called closing the stable door after the horse has bolted. Poor old tree's down. Even snapped the strap that I put on it. So windbreaks. Because if you've got a view, then you've got the weather. So grass paths as narrow as you can, and then finally my last one is don't use plastic, which I have done throughout the whole entire area. And the reason for not using plastic is because you can't get rid of it. It goes in the hole in the ground when it's finished with. I'm sure you can reuse it, but you get bits of plastic all over the place and plastic in the soil, and it's no good. I had massive areas of plastic all over the place, and I'd much rather, from now on, what I'm going to do is get a digger in for the day and scrape all the patches off and make earth mounds and more windbreaks, and then put a ground cover, put down mulch, plant ground cover plants, and do that, because it's just too much plastic. It really is. So yeah, I'm kind of getting away from plastic if you possibly can, and I've still got a lot of it kicking around, but there we go. I'm going to use it now. I've got it. There we go. Those are my 5 mistakes. I'm just going to go through them again. So firstly, keep the bramble down. Keep on top of bramble, on top of docks and blackthorn. Don't let stuff spread. and maintain the land at that equilibrium until you're ready to deal with it. Quite often this will mean cutting the bramble back a couple of times a year, and mowing around the edge or whatever it is. But do it. Yeah, don't just let it go to shit. Don't ignore it, because it will grow. Second thing is focus on a section at a time. So I wish I'd kind of finished this first before starting everything else. But having said focus one section at a time, it's good to get the infrastructure in, and the infrastructure is dead hedges, that row of posts you can see behind me, and windbreak hedges like this yellow dogwood that you can see here. Get them going and get the canopy layer in. Then you can leave it, just kind of mow the grass, not very often, and then you can come back to it, and when you're ready, and then get the ground cover and the shrubs in section by section. Yep. So canopy, windbreaks, that's dead hedges and living hedges, and then come back to it. And then grass paths, keep them to a minimum, because it is the more grass you have, the higher maintenance it is. Water reservoir if you can, and don't use plastic. Yeah, if you possibly can, avoid using plastic. So hope that's interesting. Thank you very much for watching.